How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time visiting the channel, go back and check out the previous videos. My channel is about style, it's about confidence, but more importantly, it's really here just to help the men today. There are a lot of men who struggle in certain areas that I feel could use a little help in, and I've been approached quite often by men that ask for pointers, ask for tips, especially when I was a image consultant. So tune in, check out the previous videos. If you like the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so today's episode is going to be kind of sensitive to some, but very helpful to others. But I hope that overall you find this episode helpful. I think about a lot of the things that I talk about in my previous videos about style, about confidence, about being a man that's desired not only by women, but just people in general. And that's where confidence kind of come into play. But really knowing who you are. But you got the suit, you got the style, but there's one thing that's missing. That's hygiene. Come on, fellas, bring it in. Hygiene. Yeah, so it's important. This is a topic that's really not talked about often, and I felt like I should really, share some tips or even some reminders to those who struggle in this area. And the sad part is, and I won't call it sad. I would say, I guess it is sad. Some men don't realize that they struggle in this area. And sometimes people would even argue that the same goes for women. But today we're not picking on women. We're going to actually talk to the men today, and then we're going to really get you some information or get you some help in certain areas. Okay, so when you talk about hygiene, that's where confidence starts. It really starts with the way you keep yourself up. A lot of times men, they're quick to pick out the outfit, but they fail to focus on the way they may present themselves, their nails, having a nice lineup or a shave, your grooming. And then, what they'll do is they'll put on a nice suit, nice outfit, and they'll just spray a bunch of cologne on, and they feel like they're good to go. But it's more to it than that. I mean, you'll be surprised at how many men out there that really don't take showers. I'll just call it like it is. There are a lot of men out there who really don't take a lot of showers. And I say a lot of showers. It's not that you have to take a ton of showers, but, really you should take care of yourself, and you should know. You should know if you have a little BO, a little body odor, and cologne will not cover up body odor. In fact, it makes it worse. A lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll have their cologne with them in the car. Probably didn't take a shower before they stepped out to go wherever they're going, but then they'll take that cologne and just take a bath in it. But to be honest with you, it makes it worse. It's like it amplifies that body odor that you already had. But the thing is, you can't smell it. But when you're around other people, they can pick that up. And you can look like like how they said, casket sharp, or however they say it. You can look casket sharp, cleaner than the health board. But then you pass by somebody, they get a whiff of you, and it's like, man, what is that? And I've even had moments of being around, individuals where, well, we'll be talking in amongst ourselves, like in a crowd or at a table, and the person may not even have to say anything, mouth shut, but it smells like somebody passed gas or something, and really it's them, it's their breath. A lot of times, I remember we used to make jokes all the time. We used to say his breath smells so bad, you can smell it. You can smell it through his pores. But some people, man, they have issues with that. I forgot what it's called. I got the word in my mind, but I don't want to butcher the word. But they may have issues with bad breath. And, they don't have to say a word, and they just knocking you out like Bruce Lee, and God forbid they open their mouth, because if they open their mouth, you're liable to pass out. And again, they got a clean suit on, nice outfit, but the breath is kicking like dancers. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to be mean. I know I may make a little joke here and there, but it's really to make you aware that you got to get your breath under control, man. If you don't chew gum, Make sure you got mints on you at all times. Make sure you're brushing your teeth, and not just brushing your teeth, brush your tongue. Whatever it takes to keep that breath under control, it's important. It's very important. That all goes under hygiene. So it don't matter how you look, is that breath taken care of? Because you can go amongst a group of guys, ladies, whatever, whoever it may be. You may be in a meeting at work. And the thing about it is people, they're not going to tell you that your breath is kicking. They're not going to tell you that because a lot of people they don't want to hurt your feelings. They want to be, nice. They want to be kind or whatever. And they feel like, it's not their place to tell you that. But when that breath is kicking, it's not a pleasant thing. All right. So another thing, going back to the cologne, when you're overspraying, that body odor comes out. It's the same goes for, I remember way back in the day, whenever we used to smoke and do all these things and go to different places where it had a lot of like smoke. We would still spray cologne, but really all that did was amplify the scent. And so you can't smell it again, but the other person can. You walk in the room, you fresh, but you smell fresh as in body odor, and it's not good. All right, so let's make sure that you're careful with how much cologne you spray. All right, so another thing on fragrance and cologne, when you're about to maybe pick up somebody, like in a car, you picking up somebody to go on a date, or you're going to the game, wherever you're going, be mindful of how much cologne you're actually spraying. It doesn't take a whole lot, and just be careful how much you spray. And maybe one day I'll do a video on the proper way to apply fragrances. Or maybe I'll get somebody on the video that's real knowledgeable about that. But you have to be careful because when you walk into even like a meeting or at work, you want to be mindful of others. That smell or that fragrance may give somebody a headache. It may hurt somebody's stomach early in the morning. So just because you're looking good, you have to make sure that you're mindful of how much fragrance you're actually applying to your skin. All right, so we're going to talk about daily showers, and there's always an argument around this, but my thing is with showers, especially depends on the region in which you live. Okay, so like if you're down south where it's humid, this is my opinion. You do what you want to do, okay? But when you're sleeping at night, you're sweating, and so I think that starting the day off, right, it should be started off by taking a shower, especially like I said, if you're sweating at night, you want to make sure you do that, and then also at the end of the day, in the evening, so I would say 2 will be good. And like I said, it all depends on where you live. Now I get it in some regions where it's very cold, then you take one in the evening, before bed, get up in the morning. I get it. It may be 20 degrees outside and some may just put their clothes on. But remember, you're getting up after maybe sleeping 8 hours. All right. Maybe you were sweating a little bit and then you're spraying cologne on. You got to understand, like it'll amplify that body odor. So you have to be careful. So really be wise with this. And I've seen debates where some people say you should take a shower every other day. And I'm like, man, that's kind of weird, but okay. Do what you do, but make sure that you're mindful of this and that you really pay close attention to, others. They're going to really pick up on that body odor. All right. So also I want to go into grooming. I'm going to talk a little bit about grooming. A lot of folks, especially guys nowadays who are starting to grow beards. Beards, really, they've been around for many, many, many years. But it seems like as of lately, the past maybe 10 years, beards have become very popular, even amongst people who were once not into beards. And then not only beards, you're starting to see people, they like to have, especially those who have the gray in their beards, they like to grow it out. And all that's fine. All of that's fine. But one thing you have to remember, and it's very, very, very important, is that you clean your beard properly. Okay, there are beard washes out there. There are different applications you can put on the beard to make sure it's fresh. Because remember, when you're eating or even drinking coffee, drinking fruit juice, whatever it may be that you're drinking, a lot of times those particles are that residue from the drink that you may have had, it lays in the beard. And then from there, you go and talking to people, and then that smell just it kind of blends in even with your breath. And man, if you decide to go and kiss somebody, especially your partner, your wife, your spouse, man, I already know they're really smelling it, and so you have to make sure that you're keeping that, washed, keeping it groomed, and making sure that you're taking very good care of the beard, and even they have beard oils, that guys are putting in their beards now, and you have to even be careful with the beard oils because they even have a scent to them. All right. And so if you mess around there and you get a beard oil that has a bad scent to it, then that may mess you up as well whenever you're leaning in or you're trying to kiss somebody or even talking to somebody because of that scent. All right. So the bottom line with this, make sure it's groomed, make sure you wash it, make sure you're getting it trimmed nicely, unless you're just going for the scruff look. Sometimes I'll go for that look. I may not trim it, but even I'll still try to make sure it's all even. But all of that goes with taking care of yourself. All right. Not just the clothes and what you put on, but taking care of yourself, your appearance, and your hygiene. All right. So one thing I failed to mention on the piece around showering, I don't want to go into details about showers because you're a grown man. I don't want to have to tell you how to shower, but all I'll say is this: just make sure you're getting everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of guys don't understand, and I'm laughing at that. And some of y'all's minds are probably wandering. And I'm not just talking about the areas that you may think I'm talking about. I'm talking about, behind the ears, the neck area. I'm talking about areas that you may forget to clean. Your ears. I said that already, but you want to make sure you're getting those areas because these are areas that, especially women, they know that if it's an odor, and I've had conversations with women, throughout the years, and they'll say how this person their neck used to stink, and how this person their head just smell. So make sure that you're even washing your hair. For those of you who still have hair, make sure that you at least you're washing your hair as well. And it's sad that we have to do content like this to remind you, but it's needed. You have to do it. I have to make this type of content. I don't really see it out there across my YouTube feed, and I think that men need to be reminded, and not only men, like I said, women as well. We all need to be reminded that we're not in this world alone. We are occupying this world with other people, and we have to make sure that we're keeping ourselves nice and clean. So I'll tell you this, for me, and I'll even share a moment where, personal hygiene actually boosted my confidence. It's nothing like, stepping out of the shower, you're fresh, you're spraying the proper amount of cologne, and then you go outside, and then everybody's head is just turning. Everybody's head is turning. I mean, and they're asking you, oh man, what is that fragrance? Or you smell so good. And this is coming from men and women. So they say you look good, you feel good. But in my opinion, if you smell good, you're fresh, then you really feel good. Now, putting the clothes on really just is like the cherry on top. But, you really have to make sure that you are well maintained from head to toe. All right, from head to toe, you can't miss any areas. You can't miss any areas. That'll mess you up, guys. That will really mess you up. You could be the best dressed guy in the building, but smell like cow manure. And excuse my choice of words, but there's some guys that are like that. They'll come up to you, they'll dap you up. Oh man, what's happening, man? It's been a long time. And in my mind, I'm like, God dang, it has been a long time, but that breath ain't changed. you know, and shame on me sometimes for not, letting people know. But the times I have let guys know, or maybe you'll hand them a mint, you'll give them a slice of gum. They'll be like, oh man, you just try to clown. And man, I'm not trying to clown you, bro. I'm just looking out for you, man, because you go around the wrong person, and you get to talking, then they may slide away from you, So you want to make sure that your breath is on point. Make sure you're showering. Make sure you're well groomed. Like I said, get your nails You ain't got to go to a nail shop. I mean, if you want to, fine. I'm not knocking the people who go to nail shops, but at least get you some nail clippers, you know, and take care of them at home. You know, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that because you know women do look at that. They do. All right. And like I said, this video isn't just about impressing women. It's really about taking care of yourself. But in the midst of it, you know, people do notice that. Okay. All right. So that's what I have for you today. I'm going to keep bringing up little topics like this, little reminders to be able to help you, you know, and it's really to help enhance your confidence. Style, that's something that you can learn. That's something really that's within you, you know, and having the confidence to really bring out your style. You can bring those two together because it's needed. But again, like I said, a lot of times people fail to focus on their hygiene. All right, and we have to get out of our heads and thinking that, you know, we smell good just because we sprayed a bunch of cologne on, and that's not the case. All right, we really have to focus on making sure that we're smelling good and we're clean. We're actually clean from head to toe. All right, so if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Please share it with somebody. And I know some people may say, you know, hey, you shared this with me. What are you trying to say? But really, I feel that by sharing it, really, you're just looking out for them. And if they feel like, you know, they're being attacked, how about they say a kick dog gonna holler, or a kick dog gonna holler? Hey, you know, it is what it is. At least you're not telling them straight up, man, you got some bad breath. You're allowing them to listen to the points that I'm making here, and hopefully they'll make some changes. All right. So go ahead and follow me on Instagram. That's at jp.haney, and my TikTok is at @therealjphaney, and my website is jphaney.com. All right. Until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in.